Hey, it's Scott with StoryTellr. On this episode of Storycast, we go down to constitutionally strong Little Rock, Arkansas to visit with a real estate agent down there who's not only a full-time real estate agent, but seemingly a full-time web producer as well. I also got a tech tip with Nigel. This is Storycast. This is pagan idol Baphomet. And a one-ton statue of this satanic idol was displayed at the State House in Little Rock, Arkansas this summer as a demonstration of both freedom of speech and religion. And this is Ray Ellen. He's a Little Rock real estate agent who knew nothing about that momentous occasion. Probably because he was so busy producing four web shows to promote his business in his town. Somehow still finding time to do the actual business of selling houses. This is my favorite. The housing data dump, which is a strange but catchy term for a market report that he's been doing ever since he didn't know to hold his phone horizontally. And he started doing listing videos featuring the story of the people who have lived in the home. And he's even doing lot listing videos, which are really pretty in this outdoorsy part of the world. Whether Ray's taken part in a chili cook-off, where I suspect he really does know what he's doing, or whether he's spending time with Be More co-host Dan Ludwig and his collection of rock t-shirts, or being the mayor of his market by knowing the best place to get a good dive burger, Ray's getting it done with video. And while I'm 100% sure he supports freedom of speech and religion in Little Rock, Arkansas, I'm also pretty sure he makes a way better interview than a statue of Baphomet. That, as far as I know, also isn't doing much with video. Hey, it's Scott with StoryTellr. I'm here with Ray Ellen down in Little Rock, Arkansas, who is a amazing purveyor of video, and we'll get into some of that and how big his footprint is online, at least. How you doing today, Ray?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, thanks for coming on with us. Talk to us a little bit. I want to start with you with how you got into real estate initially, because I went on, I did a little research and went online a little bit, and you have this great story about your family's timberland and how that kind of influenced your decision to get into the industry in the first place.
Yeah. So my family lives in South Arkansas, way South Arkansas. So when my family found America, that's where they landed like 150 years ago, right? So there's about 150 acres, and my grandfather and I would walk around and we would scrape the trees and paint purple paint on it, which meant it was posted, you should not trespass. So while we were down there doing all that, my grandfather used to tell me stories about the land and, what was now forest. He used to tell me about the fields that were there and where people lived and, the first car that came through the area and the old road bed that was there. And so I was just fascinated by what you could do with land. Right. And so even at that age, I was just kind of interested in real estate.
Just out of curiosity, is painting a purple dot, calling it posted, the same as today, where posted means you can get shot for trespassing?
Yeah, like the stand your ground stuff. I think that's it. Yeah. Especially back then.
Right. And so how did that dovetail into real estate for you?
Well, just kind of the general interest and always wanting to see what you could do if you owned your own property. And, even to this day, I still go down there and deer hunt, and we, kind of work the land, I guess you could say. And so just being interested in land itself.
That's nice. I'll be giving you a call when my family's vacationing next year.
There you go.
So now you're in real estate. How long have you been in real estate now, you think?
So I was first licensed in 2007.
Okay.
Just so a fantastic time to get your real estate license.
Right. I was gonna say anything, but I'm sure people in the industry know for sure.
Yeah.
And you've got a really big video footprint now, which is obviously a trend. But yours is more extensive than most. I mean, you've got 4 different shows online right now, and I mean, obviously you didn't jump right out of the gate and say I'm going to do video and I'm going to launch these 4 shows. You've got the Real QA show. You've got the housing data dump, which I love a lot as just a market report kind of thing because you break it into areas. Yeah. You've got Home Sweet Arkansas, which is the mayor of your market kind of stuff, and you've got my personal favorite, the Bearded Men of Real Estate, or Be More.
Yeah, there you go.
In there, but we'll touch on some of those. How did you get from just being a licensed realtor in 2007 and that astoundingly great market into this, this kind of become an authority on video and how it relates to real estate?
So whenever, I mean, I guess it was in 2006, I was helping other agents market and sell their properties. And I was literally sitting in bed watching YouTube with my wife, and there was a guy on there tasting wine. And I told her, I was like, this is 2006. I said, somebody's got to do something like this for real estate.
Right.
So I wound up getting my real estate license. The market crashed. I hung out for a little bit, but I wound up doing a business brokerage thing, then owned a couple of companies. Long story short, I reactivated my residential real estate license in 2013 and moved markets.
Gotcha.
And when I did, I focused for probably 2.5 years just on selling a house. And so that's what I tell people, because new agents all the time are like, hey, I want to do what you do. I just got my license last week. How do I start? And I tell them, sell a house, right? So in order to be the expert, you actually have to know what you're doing. And so I spent a long time just studying the processes and, what made this one successful and what made this one a fantastic failure and what could I have done? So then I was doing pretty well, but there was one day in particular, I remember I was going to hold 2 open houses, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. And Saturday open houses are rare in our area. So I was really trying to push it. And both open houses, or both homes that I was going to hold open sold on like Tuesday or Wednesday.
The week before.
The week before, right. And so the agents, it wasn't even my listings. I was just trying to do them to get buyers. And so the agents called me and said, hey, sellers are going to cancel the open houses because their house is now under contract. And so I had done a kind of a listing video before, and it was really just like a slideshow. But I thought, man, I have to do something because I don't have any money. I didn't have any listings. I had to do something. And so I sat in my truck and thought about a little video, and I just took my phone and started shooting. And I shot a little video. It was like 2 or 3 sentences, but I would kind of move the locations when I shot, and I clipped it really fast together.
Right.
And that was my first real foray into video. And maybe only a couple of thousand people saw it, but there were so many people that told me, hey, I saw that video. Hey, I saw that video. And it was really a video about not waiting for the open houses because these homes sold. So if you want to see a house, give me a call. Right. I got a really great response. So I thought, well, there's definitely something to this. And then I started really researching video and marketing online and Facebook and all that.
That's pretty impressive. And it's kind of interesting that you were intuitive right off the bat about quick cuts and making sure it held attention. How long do you think that initial video was total?
Oh man, it was probably a minute and a half.
Right.
It took probably an hour to shoot and another maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes. I edited it all on my phone.
Right.
On iMovie and shot it on my phone, edited on my phone. Yeah, I had little transitions and even I think it had some music behind it too, but it was all done on my phone.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the thing. It's like iMovie, GarageBand. I mean, Apple's pretty good about intuitive tools. So, I mean, talk a little bit about the impact. I mean, so you're like, obviously there's something to this. I did a bunch of research. I mean, how fast was the ramp up? I mean, how frequently were you doing video from that point forward? Or was it kind of slow, like, growth?
So I guess you could say it was pretty slow. I think the first things we started doing were listing videos, and we started doing a little more of those. And then I was looking for as many things to do for free as possible because I didn't have any money.
Sure.
And so
Which, by the way, will be the battle cry for everybody.
Right.
Get in for the first time.
So we were using the tools we had, like my phone, right?
Right.
So we did housing data dumps. That came fairly quickly after that first. I think maybe that first video was in the early winter, maybe like February or so. And then I started doing housing data dumps pretty well that next fall. And so
tell me a little bit really quickly, just because you said it twice now, tell me a little bit about the housing data dumps. Because one of the things I always recommend to a estate agent is that, educating your market is a great first step for doing video.
Yeah.
People just do like, oh, here's your monthly market report. Housing data dump has much more seem to do it for like even individual areas within your market. So talk a little bit about
I do. So we do one report per month per major area. And so that winds up being about 2 videos a week when we're on top of it. Now, it's difficult to stay on top of it, but that's what it winds up being. And so we're out there a lot. But the housing data dump, I named it that way because I was quite sure no one would copy that horrible name. But a data dump in itself is just putting, it kind of explains what it is, but it's putting that data out there. That's the data dump, just dumping a bunch of data on you. And that's kind of what I wanted it to feel like. But we do give some interpretation. So basically we take a phone. My first one was like vertical orientation, just straight up on Facebook. And it was just me in front of a whiteboard. And I talked about the active listings, just sold, just listed, under contract. I talked about all that stuff. And I would tell people what it meant, but I wouldn't tell people what it meant. As real estate agents, a lot of people kind of do that, and they'll bend those numbers to be interpreted how they want.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that straight from the front. So if it's a seller's market, I wanted to tell people it's a seller's market.
Yeah.
And then I educated the buyer on how to buy a house in a seller's market. I didn't say it's a seller's market, but it's still a great time to buy. I said, hey, if you're moving, here's what you need to do.
Right.
Because there's plenty of people moving all over the place. I don't have to make something up.
Well, that's what
so it's really important to me to be honest with the numbers and authentic with the advice.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about the ones that I watched. And to be perfectly honest with you, I only watched a few. But
there's a bunch of them. We have like 60 something of those. Yeah,
there's a lot of them. But the thing is, personality comes through, and it is cool. It's definitely your interpretation of the numbers, but it makes it more useful to say this is what I think about it too.
Yeah.
You mentioned that when you're on top of it, and I mentioned a couple of the other things you're doing online too. Where do you find time? I mean, obviously you're in business, you're still selling houses and stuff, but you've got a huge footprint online right now. And you go to your, even just the Bearded Men of Real Estate Facebook page, lots of videos. You've got tons of videos on your own page, and there's just, where do you find time? How do you budget that?
That's the hard part, and it's getting harder. We actually started a company this year too. So our philosophy has been to be a brokerage, but to act and behave more like a media company.
Sure.
And in order to do that, you have to produce lots of content. So we have tons of content ideas that we don't even have time to touch yet. So the weekly show, the Bearded Men of Real Estate, that takes about an hour to prepare and pre-show, and then it takes an hour to shoot the show. And once we're done with that, it may take another 15 minutes or so to get the podcast out there, but sometimes that's even hard to do.
Right.
So it is difficult. The things that take the longest are our Home Sweet Arkansas shows, and that's the Mayor of the Market thing.
Right.
We had intended to do like one every 2 months, and it's usually around one a quarter, just because it's taken so long to find the place, set them up, get their expectations right, put ourselves in spot to shoot them, then edit and get B-roll and all that stuff and come back. So that's taken a little longer, but that's like a major production.
They look great.
Yeah, thank you. That one's on the expensive end of what we do. That is not just a cell phone.
Right.
But we wanted to show those businesses in the best light possible, because then it comes back on us and people see that we are professional, and this is like what we want to do.
Yeah, and you guys definitely, I mean everything you put out there, even your early ones, you're talking about the vertical cell phone and stuff. You guys, obviously there was a curve. So tell me a little bit about, what you're using now. You said you've become a media, so you're not just a selfie stick with a cell phone and using Camtasia or something like that. You've got a division at this point. Tell me a little bit about how you guys are doing stuff now.
So the gear we have now is pretty extensive. Like, I'm sitting in a small studio that we built. So we have a whiteboard wall here, and this is what I do the data dump on. This black wall behind me is going to be covered in sound panels soon, just to kind of get less echo. Behind the camera, what you can't see is a green screen wall. So we just painted a wall chroma key green, awesome. And that way we could stand there and be wherever we need to be for the videos. So we're shooting on a A7S2. We bought a whole bunch of gear. We have these cool Sennheiser mics. We've upgraded all of our stuff. We have lights. I shoot the Bearded Men of Real Estate on a Heil PR40. So we've made some major upgrades. However, we still do live videos with just our phone, and we still do the selfie stick stuff, and we still do the stories and Insta stories that are just very quick, because there's a different type of authenticity when you can do that. And I think you need both.
That's a great
I don't think you can just go straight professional and make it. I think you need to go straight professional, but also be very well accomplished in getting the fast bits of information, the fast pieces of marketing out there as good and authentic as possible.
Yeah, I think authenticity is a really good word, because you know, I think a lot of people, you, me, try and walk that line between the approachability of just your cell phone video versus produce background music and, you know, dissolves and so on and so forth. But pretty cool.
And a lot of people, as soon as they get in front of a camera, it's like they change people. Yeah. You know, they're fun loving and gregarious, and then you put them in front of the camera and they just kind of,
damn.
And so, you know, now our agents are doing this. So we're training our agents on how to be in front of the camera and how to act normal, which sounds funny, but it's a big step.
That's one of those things too. It's just practice, I think. And that's a beautiful thing about cell phone video too. You could do a lot of it.
Yes.
What doesn't work, and nowadays almost every cell phone's got a pretty high quality camera, especially the rear facing one.
You can shoot in 4K now, so that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it takes up a lot of memory, but you can dump it right off. And, you know, what would you tell people who were just getting started, who were where you were right after you did that truck burst video about waiting for an open house?
Yeah, so I would say just do it. I mean, just start filming, start putting things together. Don't worry about being a perfectionist. I mean, there are projects now that I have to remind myself not to be a perfectionist on, and just to get it out there, because finished is better than perfect.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Get it out there, get the content out there, because it's not doing any good if it's sitting in your phone.
Yeah.
And you're only worried about it coming out perfect if that's the only piece of content you're going to create. And if that's the only piece of content you're going to create, you're in the wrong industry.
Yeah. So I'm even creating that one.
Yeah. So create as much of it as possible, and you'll get better and better over time, but also start to study it. That's another mistake a lot of agents make, is they'll put something out and they'll think it gets good views, but it's really just their friends and family. And then somebody else picks it up and starts laughing at it. Right. And then you get 100,000 views, but people are making fun of it. They're not talking about you as a professional. They're talking about you as doing something stupid in a house. Mm-hmm. So analyze the results. You know, how many clients are you converting? How many clients are you picking up from your videos? What are people saying about the videos? Find some friends to be honest with you, and see what kind of results they're having, and then start to double down on the ones that are really working, and the ones that aren't working, or the one-offs, you can just let them be. But then just kind of start to change how you do it to become better and better.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about that RETV group that you're part of. It's a great place to see how things are working, because it's a whole collective of people doing the same kind of things, and there's a lot of great information being shared on there.
Yes, crowdsourcing critics.
Yes.
I should put that on there. I just made that up. That was good.
That is good. Everybody at heart wants to be a critic. I think that's
there you go.
So I'm at the portion of the program where I'm thanking you much for being here. I'm asking you to shamelessly self-promote all that you do, and maybe see if you could slip in a little impactfulness of it there. Like, I do this and it does this for me, and I do this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, but mainly I want you to be able to tell people where they can find you and see what you do.
So Facebook is the easiest place. You can find Ray Ellen Group, or you can find Pixel Properties. Pixel Properties is the company that we started this year, and Ray Ellen Group is my own individual team within that. And Ray Ellen Group's been around a little longer, so you can go back into the archives and see some of that old stuff that I've just kind of left there. Some of it is totally bad, and so, but you can see it. You can see it all, and you can find me on Instagram. We're really dipping our toe in the water on Instagram. Pixel Properties is our brokerage there, but you could also find us at Ray Zorback. That's RayZorback. And I graduated from the University of Arkansas, which was the home of the Razorbacks. So I had that name, and it just kind of stuck on Twitter and Instagram. And
I should go ahead and put the disclaimer out there that you clarified that for me. But
yeah, I did. That's not my actual last name, folks. But yeah, find me at Ray Zorback just about everywhere, and then find the Pixel Properties and Ray Ellen Group stuff, and you can kind of see some of the videos we do. What we're learning and what's coming next for us is Instagram and then YouTube. And so we haven't really made any inroads in YouTube, and we don't have an audience there or anything. So if you want to, you can find us there and start watching us learn, I guess you could say.
Tell me a little bit about the Bearded Men of Real Estate and your friend's collection of rock and roll T-shirts.
Yeah, so Dan is an awesome agent in LA, and I am an agent here, of course, in Little Rock and Central Arkansas. And so we connected through one of those referral groups. And I think I had posted a GIF image of the red bearded guy in Game of Thrones under his. I was like, bro, this is you. And so we just kind of laughed about that. Both of us were in real estate. We started messaging back and forth about things we were running into in real estate and problems we were seeing and agents we were running into, the news. And then I had the idea, this format for a podcast for a long time, but I really didn't find a co-host. I didn't really find a theme that made sense. And then he said, I've got this idea for a podcast called The Bearded Men of Real Estate. We're both bearded. It makes sense, but I don't have a format. So I told him, I was like, man, this is like a match made in heaven. So we got together and just started jamming out. In the first 10 to 20 minutes, we just kind of talk about the news, is what's going on. And then the last half of the show, we'll take a couple of deep dives into, usually we'll pick some of the more controversial topics or some of the topics that are interesting, and we'll kind of go a little deeper into those topics to see if there's anything we can pull out.
Be split on.
Yes. Yeah, that's always fun.
It is fun. Well, what else would you like to tell me?
Man, let's see. Well, the only thing we haven't covered is the Real Q&A show. I'll tell you that's exactly it. Hashtag Real QA.
Yeah.
So that show came about from Gary Vaynerchuk's Ask Gary V.
Right.
So when he launched that, I said, that's the perfect arena for this real estate show. I was thinking back in 2006. And so when he launched that, we took that idea of people asking questions and answering the questions. And if you're a fan of Gary Vee, you'll kind of see his themes throughout those shows. But basically, we take 3 or 4 questions, we answer them. I have a co-host that's somebody like a business or somebody else in the community. And we just kind of jive about the topics. It's usually like 1 to 2 minutes per question. And then we end the show. So we'll shoot like 5 of those episodes right in a row. And I change 5 shirts. So our thumbnails are different on YouTube. Sure. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because you can't have like the same thumbnail if you got to change those up. Yeah. So we'll shoot like 5 of those, and we just shot our second season, the first 5 episodes of that. So those will be rolling out over the coming weeks. But it's fun. That's a fun show to do. It's really hard to get questions, but that's a fun show for us to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where it's going to be your footprint too. I'm a fan of Gary Vee, but I think I told you this before. I really believe his entire body of work can be reduced to 4 words, and it's up to you.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm going to say that as often as I can, as publicly as possible, in the hopes that he reaches out to me and gives me a hard time.
That's true.
He's on my interview list. We'll see if he ever responds. Hey, I can't thank you enough, man, for doing this with me, especially with the snafu from last time. And I really appreciate it. And if there's anything I can ever do for you in the future, just let me know, and I'll let you know when we're ready to air it.
Yeah, man, we'll do. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here, Ray. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too.
Hi, this is Nigel from StoryTellr, here to give you this episode's tech tip. Today, I'll be talking about properly framing your subject when shooting video on your smartphone. Here's an example. Cell phone cameras do not have zoom lenses. Instead, they rely on digital zoom, which decreases the quality of the video. As you can see, if your subject doesn't fill the frame and you have to rely on this digital zooming, it drastically affects the quality. So if you want your subject to appear larger in frame, your best bet is to move closer to your subject rather than relying on this zoom feature. Thanks for watching this episode's tech tip, and I will see you next time on Storycast.
Hey, I want to thank Nigel for that tech tip. I hope you enjoyed it. And I also want to thank Ray Ellens for spending the time with me today to talk about what he does down there in Little Rock, Arkansas. Hey, if you'd like to know more about what we do here and how it can help what you do there, go to StoryTellr.com to learn more. And if you have an idea for a person that might be a great interview for Storycast, let us know. Send it to me at scotth@storytellr.com, and I might send you a $25 gift card. Thanks for joining us.